What if I told you that after 28 years of silence, the one person who could unlock America's most haunting murder mystery just broke his silence? Burke Ramsey, the 9-year-old boy who slept through the night his sister Jonbenet was brutally killed, has finally spoken out, and what he revealed is sending shockwaves through the true crime community. For nearly 3 decades, the world has wondered what really happened in that Boulder, Colorado mansion on December 26, 1996. Tonight, we're diving deep into the case that captivated a nation, destroyed a family's reputation, and left investigators scrambling for answers that seemed to slip through their fingers like smoke. Picture this. Christmas morning had just passed, and the Ramsey family should have been enjoying the aftermath of holiday joy. Instead, Patsy Ramsey woke up to discover a ransom note demanding $118,000 for her daughter's safe return. But here's where the story takes its first twisted turn. Jonbenet's body was found in their own basement, strangled with a makeshift garrote, her skull fractured. The ransom note became meaningless, but the questions it raised would haunt this family forever. The amount demanded in that ransom note wasn't random. It matched John Ramsey's Christmas bonus almost exactly. The note was written on paper from inside the house, using a pen from inside the house. There were no signs of forced entry, no footprints in the snow outside, nothing to suggest an intruder had ever been there. Within hours, the finger of suspicion pointed directly at the family themselves. But wait, it gets even more disturbing. The crime scene was a complete disaster from the very beginning. Picture this chaos: family friends wandering through the house, police officers contaminating evidence, and then the unthinkable. John Ramsey himself was told to search the house and discovered his daughter's body in the basement wine cellar. In his grief and shock, he carried her upstairs, destroying crucial forensic evidence that could have solved this case decades ago. The media descended like vultures, and the Ramsey family became the most hated people in America overnight. They hired lawyers and PR consultants within hours, refused to speak to police for months, and every action they took seemed to scream guilt to a watching world. Cable news networks turned their grief into entertainment, staging mock trials where Patsy Ramsey was essentially convicted in the court of public opinion. And through all of this chaos, there was Burke, a confused 9-year-old boy who became one of the most scrutinized children in American history. Every smile during police interviews was analyzed as evidence of guilt. Every nervous laugh was dissected by armchair detectives. The theories about Burke became so wild and persistent that he would eventually sue CBS for $750 million when they suggested he killed his sister in a childhood accident gone wrong. But here's what changed everything. In 2003, DNA evidence emerged that would flip this entire case on its head. Male DNA found on Jonbenet's clothing didn't match anyone in the Ramsey family. Not John, not Patsy, not Burke. The DNA profile was entered into the national database, but it didn't match anyone there either. In 2008, the Boulder District Attorney officially cleared the entire Ramsey family and issued a public apology for the years of suspicion they had endured. So if the family didn't do it, who did? That's the question that has haunted John Ramsey for nearly 3 decades. He's watched as crucial evidence sat untested in police storage, as advanced DNA technology that could solve this case was ignored, as his wife Patsy died in 2006 still. Under a cloud of suspicion that was finally lifted 2 years too late, Burke's recent decision to speak publicly after 28 years of silence reveals just how deeply this case has affected everyone involved. When Dr. Phil asked him why he finally decided to speak out, Burke's answer was simple but powerful. If the story is going to be told, I want to tell it. I don't want people talking about me. I would rather tell my own story. During that interview, Burke addressed the wild theories head-on. Did he use a bat or flashlight to kill his sister? Absolutely not. Did he know what happened that night? He stayed in bed, thinking Jonbenet was just hiding somewhere in the house. The nervous smiles that people had analyzed for years. Just a frightened child's response to overwhelming questioning about the worst night of his life. But perhaps the most heartbreaking moment came when Burke recalled learning that his sister wasn't just missing, she was dead. His father told him that Jonbenet was in heaven, and that's when the 9-year-old boy finally broke down in tears, the reality hitting him that his little sister was never coming home. The investigation's failures run deeper than most people realize. The Boulder Police Department has admitted their initial response was disastrous. They didn't secure the crime scene, didn't separate the family members, didn't take proper statements until 5 months later. Former FBI agents have called the mishandling catastrophic. Evidence that should have been tested immediately sat in storage for years. The garrote used to strangle Jonbenet was sent for testing in 1997 but was returned untested. What's even more frustrating is that the technology exists today to potentially solve this case. The same genetic genealogy techniques that caught the Golden State Killer could be applied to the DNA evidence from Jonbenet's case. John Ramsey has begged law enforcement to use these modern methods, but he's been met with resistance and bureaucratic delays. The human cost of this case extends far beyond the tragic loss of a 6-year-old girl. The Ramsey family had already endured an unimaginable tragedy. Patsy was battling stage 4 cancer, and they had previously lost John's daughter Beth in a car accident. Jonbenet's murder should have brought them community support, but instead, it brought them worldwide condemnation and suspicion. John Andrew Ramsey, Jonbenet's half-brother, has become increasingly vocal about the case in recent years. He believes wholeheartedly that this case can be solved if investigators would just follow the evidence and use modern technology. This case can be solved, he insists. There's a narrative out there that this is an unsolved homicide and that we just have to accept it as fact. And that is not the truth. Today, Burke lives quietly in Michigan as a software engineer, having graduated from Purdue University. He avoids media attention and declined to participate in the recent Netflix documentary about his sister's case. John Andrew continues to advocate for justice, appearing in documentaries and pushing for advanced DNA testing. Their father, John, now 81, remarried in 2011 and continues his tireless campaign for justice, recently meeting with Boulder's new police chief, who has expressed renewed commitment to solving the case. The Boulder Police Department has partnered with Colorado's Cold Case Review team, digitizing thousands of tips and cataloging over 25,000 pieces of evidence. They've created searchable databases and claim to be pursuing all valuable leads. But for the Ramsey family, these promises feel hollow after decades of disappointment. Here's what makes this case so haunting. Somewhere out there, a killer walks free. The DNA evidence proves an intruder was in that house on December 26, 1996. Someone tortured and murdered a 6-year-old girl, then disappeared into the night while her family was destroyed by suspicion and media persecution. The real killer has watched for 28 years as the Ramseys were torn apart by theories and accusations, knowing they were innocent all along. The question isn't whether this case can be solved. It's whether anyone in power has the will to solve it. The evidence exists, the technology exists, and the family's determination certainly exists. What's missing is the institutional commitment to finally bring justice for Jonbenet Ramsey. Burke's decision to break his silence after 28 years isn't just about setting the record straight. It's about honoring his sister's memory and demanding that the real killer be found. His courage in facing the public after decades of hiding might just be the catalyst needed to finally solve America's most infamous cold case. The clock is ticking, evidence is degrading, and witnesses are aging. But if there's one thing the Ramsey family has proven over these 28 long years, it's that they will never stop fighting for justice. Jonbenet Ramsey deserves better than to be remembered as an unsolved mystery. She deserves to be remembered as a little girl who loved life, brought joy to family dinners, and whose killer was finally brought to justice. The question that remains is simple. Will 2025 be the year that Jonbenet Ramsey finally gets the justice she's been waiting for? Or will her killer continue to walk free while her family fights against time and bureaucracy? Only one thing is certain. This case is far from over. And the truth is still out there, waiting to be discovered.